Welcome, everybody, to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a life and love transformational coach and founder of Single and Stilettos. Today, we have a very special guest, as always, Bex Burton, and she's a certified dream builder and love coach. And today, we're talking about, oh my God, you're scaring off men. But before we jump into this topic, Bex, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about you and how you became a dream builder and love coach.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks, Suzanne. Happy to be here. My journey to being a dream builder and love coach kind of began with a whole bunch of stumbles and falls and failures on my journey to attracting lasting love. And, my history, I went from being a really shy, well, actually, that's not true. I wasn't ever shy, but I was invisible. I was just completely invisible. I carried more weight than I had wanted to, was invisible to men, always crushed on all the people and never was seen. And I went from that to shedding some weight and all of a sudden being the beautiful butterfly, and then feeling like I had all this power, and then kind of dating for sport. And that led me to a couple of fair relationships that all ended disastrously because I had no skills and I had no tools to know what I wanted, needed, and communicate. So I call those my dumpster fire breakups because I broke some hearts, and sending them love right now. But yeah, after the third time that happened, I decided that was it. I no longer wanted to be in that position again. I no longer wanted to cause more harm than good, which is what I felt like I was doing. And so I set out to figure out what was going on and what I was doing wrong in my love life. And 2.5, 3 years later, I met my husband, who's an incredible man. 7 years later, we're still together and have learned a lot along the way. And that began my journey of becoming a love coach, because I wanted everybody to find this epic, great love that is totally possible for everyone.
I love that because you're spreading the wealth, right?
Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's jump into this about how someone could scare a man off, and what are the top 3 things that you find that women do that can scare a man off?
Yeah, great question. And I mean, there are probably a dozen.
Oh,
But
I think there's more.
there's probably more for sure. But the three that really come to my mind are the ones that present themselves with the women that I work with, who are driven, successful, ambitious women, independent women. And so these things are kind of significant, kind of recurring patterns that I see. And one of them is this kind of future pacing, which, in some areas of our life, that's really good when we vision and dream. And that's one thing. Visioning and dreaming is one thing. But when we future pace, what I mean by that is that we're making up stories of fantasy outcomes. And the reason why this is tricky is because we end up in this position where it's like, well, if he says this, then I should be saying this. Or, gosh, if he doesn't call me back and make plans by Thursday at 4 p.m., then I'm going to do this. And what's happening in that moment is that we're not living in the present. We're basing our beliefs based on our history and whatever's happened up until now, and then we're creating a scenario that is not even real. It's not even, it's completely a fantasy outcome. And not only that, but that's also just being very in our head, and also being in masculine energy of trying to control things. So when we show up in relationship, when we show up in our dates, and we communicate or coming from this place, men sniff that out from a mile away, and that will scare a man off. When he's thinking that you're 3 months ahead and he's like, well, wait, what's your last name? Then we've got a little incongruency here. So staying in the present moment is the one way to solve that.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I can't tell you how many women have already made up in their head before they even meet for the first date of, oh, I can marry this man. I can see a future with this guy. He looks great on paper.
And I know what I'm going to wear.
I know. And ladies, before, I was guilty of it too before, but it's true. What Beck said is you have to stay in that present moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So the second thing that will guaranteed scare men off is the idea of shape shifting. And what I mean by that is when you show up as one woman and then a week later on date 2 or 3, you're showing up as a totally different woman. And this can be, in the way that we show up in person. It can also be incongruencies in our online dating profile where, the thing that the images that we're using and the words that we're using to describe us and our ideals of ourselves, but not really representative or reflective of who we are in this moment, who we are today, is one way that shows up. The other way that it shows up is, we might show up really strong and fierce and independent, and then we're across the table from this hottie who's like, high performing, got the job and the house and the whatever and the car, and we're just like, and then we just turn into our little girl self, which is not the fierce, strong, independent women that we really are. So that shape shifting is definitely a pattern that shows up for us, especially when we, for a lot of strong, successful women, and that will definitely scare men off because he doesn't know who he's dealing with.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I think there's a fine line, Bex, is when you're a strong, independent woman and you show up super fierce, like how you described it, I don't remember the exact words, but fierce like that, there's also that fine line where it can also be too much, because then she's so in her masculine energy. And what I find is most strong, independent women want to attract a man that's stronger than them, and then they don't understand why he kind of pulls back in that way. So what's that fine line on a first date of not showing too fierce and too masculine?
Yeah. So I think that's such a great question. And I think that, like, in the first impression, there's certain things that we can look out for in, like, our tendency to compete or our tendency to feel like we have to prove ourselves in some way. Those are the ways that, like, our masculine is rising and trying to present himself. And then subsequently, over the course of several dates, even if we show up in a strong, confident way that is balanced, that he's attracted to, wants to see us again, then, several dates down the line, and then we start being a little sheepish and he's asking, like, well, where do you want to go to eat? And she's saying, well, you decide, I don't know, whatever. That's getting into this habit of people pleasing or sacrificing our own needs, wants, and desires to please the man. And because we're afraid that if we voice our opinion, if we voice what we desire, then he's going to be turned off. And that's just not true. It's just, there's a skillful way of communicating our desire that's not a masculine way, that is more feminine. And that actually leads to my third point. Of how not to scare men off. And this is the thing that comes up. And I know this happens for a lot of us, that if we're in a relationship or getting to know a man and we're criticizing him or judging him in some way, instead of, like, expressing what we want and need. So this happens, and let me give you a little scenario of how this plays out, right? It's like, the dinner conversation, right? Well, hey, babe, he's asking us, where do we want to go for dinner? Oh, well, I don't know, wherever's fine. And then he's like, great, we're going to go have burgers and fries. And so now we're sitting at the burger place and we're looking at the menu and we're like, oh, I really wanted a salad. He's just not healthy enough for me. And it's like, sister, you're scaring him off because you're criticizing him for the choice that you've empowered him to make. Right? Instead of saying, actually, what I would really love is something healthy, something fresh. What comes to mind? Do you have any ideas? And then he can still take the lead and make the decision, but you've expressed what you want and what you desire.
You know, I just have to add to this because I work with both men and women, and men have actually told me this is like what you said was perfect because men have actually told me it kind of annoys them when they ask a woman, "Hey, what would you like to go eat?" And she's kind of like, "I don't know, you choose." And they're like, "Oh my God, can you have an opinion?" They hate when women don't have an opinion. I mean, don't overtake the whole thing and go, "Well, we have to go here and be all that directive and take over the whole thing." But like how you said it, Bex, was like perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of how like it I mean, through experience of the bumpy road of relationships, 7 years into my marriage, I've realized that yeah, my man wants some direction. Like, and I don't always want to make the decision, but if I can at least come up with like what am I hungry for? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's just a question that I practice playing with in all areas of my life, not just my food.
Right.
But like what am I hungry for? What would I love to nourish my body with? And then I come up with like, oh yeah, I would really like a burger and fries tonight. Let's add a shake to that. And then he can, like I said before, then he can be in the masculine, take the lead, make the decision in alignment with what I'm expressing my true heart's desire.
Exactly. Well, these have been some great tips. So, Bex, I know you have a free gift for the ladies, so can you tell them what it is?
Sure thing. Yeah, my free gift is a 3 video series. So it's a video tutorial in 3 parts, and it's called Soulmate Love Awaits You Just As You Are. So you don't have to go change in who you are. And it's 6 mindful practices for being open and fertile for love. So you can check it out, and Suzanne will drop the link for you.
Awesome. So, ladies, if you would like Bex's free gift, just click below the video to get her free gift. And if you're listening to the podcast, just go to singleonstilettos.com and get her free gift and look for her interview. So, thanks everybody for joining us on the Single on Stiletto show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you would like to view the videos, you can go to singleonstilettos.com. And if you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you would like to get our free gift, the Secrets About Men video series, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleonstilettos.com.